Good evening. My name is Vince Palmieri, and I'm the president and founder of Asian Pacific Community Awareness. And I'm very fortunate to be sitting here this evening with Ryan Patrick, who is running for Assembly District 9. And we're going to ask Patrick some tough questions.
That's all right. I'm game. I've got my coffee, so
and then we'll see if he gets an A or an F. But my gut feeling is I think he's going to get an A+. So, first, Ryan, if you don't mind, because a lot of people who view us are not really familiar what authority you have as an assemblyman or an assembly person. They don't know what an assembly person does. A lot of them don't know what a county commissioner does. So first, if you don't mind, I'd like you to explain that.
Sure. Well, to be honest with you, before running here, I probably didn't really know myself either. So let me back up a little bit. So I've been in Vegas for 8 years. I grew up in LA. And my buddy who's filming this here, we actually, funny enough, went to the same all-boys Catholic high school in Southern California. And so the assembly role is a part-time legislative role. 180 days out of the year we get together. We vote on things that effectively change, that dictates your lifestyle, from public safety to education to the way in which we fund, anti-homelessness policies. And so, to be quite honest with you, I got involved because nobody was running against the Democrat, and my opponent is how do I say this? He's been there a long time, and I didn't sit well with me the direction of the state. I don't want to move to Texas or Utah, and I really believe, coming from California, this is our last stand. And I'll go a little further here. My dad's an immigrant. My dad's from Ireland. My mom's side, they're from Ireland and Scotland. And I think a lot of people that come to this town, whether you're in the Asian community or not, I think a lot of people come to Las Vegas specifically for opportunities. And many of us here, this has kind of been the new dream for a lot of folks, but it's quickly disappearing. It's disappearing in so many ways. And public safety is my big thing. I have a lot of buddies that are cops. I'm friends with the new sheriff, Kevin McMahill. And I think it's palatable. It doesn't matter what race or creed or gender you are. Just drive around. There's more homeless people. People feel on edge.
Yes.
And when the police aren't there to show up, how are you going to protect yourself? So I'm a very big proponent of law enforcement. I'm very big in 2A and your constitutional rights, because if you're an elderly couple and someone breaks in, we saw this in Summerlin not too long ago. An elderly gentleman went golfing. Some young man took his weapon, and fortunately it didn't discharge on him, but he was every intent to kill someone. Police wouldn't be there, So we're living in strange times, and I think how you vote really fundamentally affects your life. So,
well, I think what you said is right on the money, because what I try to do in my organization is I've been focusing on, since the primaries, on the down ticket. And why? Because the people in the down ticket, these are the people like Ryan who are going to make decisions that are going to affect our lives every day. Even if we have a governor in this state who is not what we choose, and we have enough people on the down ticket in the Assembly and the Senate, we can still have good security. We can still build a good economy. We can take care of the homeless. We can do these things. This is what people don't understand. That's why I wanted you to explain to them. And like yourself, I was not born here. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I came here in 2015, and I just loved it. Would I go back to New York now? Absolutely not. We have an expression in New York, I'll do this in a New York minute. It would take me years before I decided to go back to New York, not in a New York minute. Why? No police protection. The city is in total chaos, and I don't want Las Vegas to be the same. And I think you have the same feeling.
Yep.
So I know you have a lot of Asians in your community, in your district. How would you address them and make them feel that they should come out and vote and express their opinion? What can you tell them to motivate them?
Sure. So 30% of districts, so Assembly District 9, which is Rhodes Ranch, South Summerlin, just think all the way against the mountain, all the way to Blue Diamond. And so 30% of the district's Asian, but it really is, when you really zoom in, it represents pretty much all Las Vegas. It's probably one of the most diverse parts of town. It's a lot of new development. You have a lot of beautiful homes. Where we're at here in Red Rock is gorgeous. So the values that are shared in the Asia community are not any different, I think, than most Americans, frankly. I think, public safety, in my opinion, is unequivocally, you don't have anything unless you feel safe in your neighborhoods, right? You don't feel good about your kids going to school if the neighborhoods aren't safe. Clark County is literally the worst school district in the country. So education reform, school choice, however you want to use the wording of it, we got to do better. So public safety.
So as an assemblyman, are you able to write some legislation or propose some legislation to change the school system?
Yes. So there's a group of Republicans that are making it, you got to have competition. And some of your viewers know this, right? If you only got one grocery store in town, eventually that grocery store isn't the place you want to shop.
Right.
And schools are no different. A family friend of mine created the first charter school in North Las Vegas, Voyager. And when you look at the data and the statistics, charter schools are fantastic because they're not beholden to the teachers union. And take it from my stepmom is a retired principal, so it's always been a challenge. And I went to Catholic school myself, but your gender, your race, your zip code shouldn't dictate the access to education that you have. And unfortunately, our folks on the other side, the Democrats, they're really beholden to the teachers union. And look, there's not a slam against teachers, but I'll give you an example. If I'm a young teacher and I just got hired by Clark County, there is no incentive for me to work in a poor, underprivileged area. There's no increase in pay. So inevitably, you're going to have that young student, or that young teacher rather, want to work in a nicer neighborhood. So the status quo is not working. Let's be candid about it, right? And so I think the Asian population, just like any other group, we want our kids to do well. We want to feel safe, and we kind of want to be left alone. And I think what's interesting about the immigrant community in particular is, it doesn't matter if you're from Venezuela, China, Taiwan, South Korea. A lot of people, we came here for a reason. And let's not recreate the reason we left. I grew up in LA. The people that are moving here from LA, how ironic it is that they forgot why they left LA. So people need to wake up and pay attention, but it starts with education, because what will Vegas be in 50 years from now if the kids right now can't learn to read or write or to have any skill? Because automation is going to fundamentally disrupt hospitality. I mean, it already is. And this town's a one-trick pony. So unless you're not going to attract good corporations to come here unless you have the schooling right.
Right. I asked one candidate who was running for governor about how do we turn Vegas in from a hospitality industry to a semi-white collar industry. And he said to me, Vince, he said, you and I both worked on Wall Street. We know the first thing you need to do is find out what departments are doing what, how they're doing. And in order to get these type of jobs to come to Vegas, you have to have talent. We don't have the talent to fill those jobs. And it defeats the purpose if we bring them in and we have to go out of the state to bring them. So we need to change our education system.
Absolutely.
So going back to security, what would you do to beef up our security, our police force here in
So I'll give you this stat right now. So as it stands right now, as of today, Metro is down by 325 officers. Doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're calling 911 and that extra cop is the patrol officers are spread a little thin, that extra 2 or 3 minutes it could literally be life or death. NHP, the Nevada Highway Patrol, I think their staffing levels right now are about half. So if you wonder why people drive like maniacs on the freeway, it's because, well, there's no one there to police it. I think at any given time, and might not be a completely accurate stat here, but I was told at any given time in the evening in the Las Vegas Valley, there's anywhere from 4 to 6 NHP officers for the whole valley.
Wow.
Which is insane in a population center like this, right? So beyond that, Nevada is not an award you want to win. We're the DUI capital of the country, right? And and it's not necessarily tourists. A lot of it's locals. We're a tavern culture. It is what it is. There is some legislation I'd like to bring in, a scarlet letter law, whereby, you know, people that are repeat offenders when it comes to DUIs, maybe we brand their license plate. God knows we have every license plate under the sun here. You got 50 options to choose from. Why not put a penalty? And, you know, unfortunately, the people that tend to be repeat offenders here, I mean, Uber and Lyft is easily accessible, right? But it's either the money or it's the arrogance of being responsible. And so, you know, we just have to do the right things. And I think having more patrol officers out there makes everybody feel safe. But we need to be clever also in our approach.
I agree, but I think you're right. And that's thinking outside the box. How do we tag these people and prevent them from becoming second and third time offenders? In closing, please say something to our audience. Anything you like, doesn't have to be about you, and you can tell them about your lifestyle. Tell them about why you came from LA to Vegas.
Sure. Well, I appreciate this opportunity to sit down and chat here as the thunder's going. So it's very ominous. I like that's not a sound effect in the background.
In Vegas, that's a good sound.
That's a great thought. We need the water. God knows we need it. Look, I got involved. I grew up in LA. You know, I've worked in a couple different industries, and I wanted a restart. That's why I came to Vegas. So California refugee, if you will. But you know, I love this town. If you take the time to look up the history of this town, it's cool. This was a sleepy desert town that did the unimaginable, and I think people stopped believing that was possible. And I think we need to start believing again. And I think I could ramble on, but I think at the end of the day, you know, have faith that you keep an open mind, you vote for people that vote your values and represent your values, rather.
Right.
And talk to people, right? I think in this town, it's very easy to ignore your neighbor, and then people come and go. But this is important, because if you plan on living here for the next 20, 30 years or have your kids, if we don't hold the line, for lack of a better way of saying it, Nevada will not be a place. It will not be a place that you and I will recognize. So this is a very important election. I know they say this every time, but I'm just a regular guy. I live with my small dog. I work full time. And I may look fancy in a suit here, but at the end of the day, I don't know all the answers. I absolutely do not. But I'm willing to stand up because I'm tired of I've seen what happened to California, and I don't want that. I don't want that to happen here.
Good. Well, Ryan, I'd like to
Pleasure.
thank you for the time.
Well, thank you.
And I'd like to ask you to come back sometime in the future before the election.
Absolutely, I'm there.
I want to thank everyone and have a good evening. And remember, it's important to get out to vote. That is a privilege that every American has and should use. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.